Hello, my name is Lachlan, and welcome to BricksNShticks. Today I'll be reviewing LEGO Set 75348, the Mandalorian Fang Fighter vs TIE Interceptor. Released in April of 2023, this set is rated for ages 9 and up, comes with 957 pieces, and retails for 160 Australian dollars. That's $100 if you're from the US. As I'm sure you can already tell, this set includes not one, but two ships to build, along with 4 minifigures, the Mandalorian himself, a Mandalorian fleet commander, a TIE pilot, and R2-E6. Moving around to the side of the box, we can see the Fang Fighter zooming by, as well as the LEGO Star Wars logo, which is echoed on the top of the box along with this set's 1-to-1 scaled figure, the Mandalorian Fleet Commander, teasing a little something that LEGO doesn't really do too often. But I'll get to that in just a minute. On the back of the box, we can see the Fang Fighter flanking the TIE on what I assume is the planet of Kalevala, as well as showing just about all the play features included within this set. This is one of the many sets that I built before creating this channel, so unfortunately, I don't have all the footage from when it was first opened. With that being said though, I can definitely still work with what I've got. Inside the box, LEGO includes 8 numbered bags, 2 instruction manuals, and no sticker sheet. Oh, and a weird error within the instructions. The instruction manual for the TIE Interceptor only shows up to bag 7 being used for that part of the set, even though to build the Interceptor you need to use all the bags that the set tells you to, plus bag 8. Which it does end up telling you to do, but only once you finish building bag 7. I wonder what was going on at LEGO when designing this instruction manual. Even though LEGO had a few issues with the instructions, they did not seem to have nearly the same amount of problems with the minifigures. In fact, this might be one of the best figure selections for a LEGO Star Wars set we've gotten in a while. Starting us off with Mando. At the time of recording this video, this exact version of the Mandalorian has been released in 2 other sets, but is still amazing to get regardless. Under the helmet, we get a print of Din Djarin's face rather than just a black head, which is quite nice. Especially when considering that the head would probably be covered up for the majority of the time. This version of the Mandalorian sees him wearing his Beskar armor with the Mudhorn insignia on the right shoulder pad. LEGO also provided Mando with a jetpack and some really nice printing underneath. And of course, I can't forget the Darksaber that LEGO included with him. Moving on to the Mandalorian Fleet Commander, for this figure, LEGO did something that they don't really do too often. They gave an unnamed character a face print. Granted, they did use this guy as their template. And LEGO didn't just give him one face print. No. LEGO gave this unnamed Mandalorian 2 face prints. Plus, they gave him a hairpiece too. Like Mando, LEGO gave this guy arm and leg printing, as well as printing on both the front and the back of the torso, even though the back printing will probably be covered up by his jetpack for the majority of the time. LEGO also included a rangefinder, small blaster, and optional thermal detonator to kit this guy out. And next up, we've got the Imperial TIE Pilot. This is very much a typical TIE Pilot minifigure, with printed details on both the front and back of the torso, as well as on the legs. The only thing that really brings this figure down for me is the lack of arm printing. But making up for that is the included face under the helmet. That's right, 3 for 3 of our minifigures have face printing rather than just a fully black headpiece. What a time to be alive. The head included is pretty generic, but I'm still really happy that LEGO included a face print at all. And LEGO gave her an even smaller blaster than the Fleet Commander. Finally, our last minifigure is the R2-E6 Astromech droid. This is your typical Astromech droid, with the main differentiating factors being the base color and printed details. There isn't really much else to say about this figure, though it is always quite nice to get a variation of an Astromech droid. Now onto the main attraction of the set, the builds. And let's get started with arguably the highlight of the set, the TIE Interceptor. This is the second version of the Interceptor that we have ever gotten, with the previous one retiring all the way back in 2007, so it was quite nice of LEGO to release an updated model. In my opinion, LEGO absolutely nailed it. For starters, the angles on the wings are pretty much perfect. Not to mention the level of detail across the entire exterior of the ship. LEGO even included some detailing for the inside of the cockpit, which at this point it is expected from LEGO Star Wars, but is still worth pointing out anyway. Getting a minifigure in and out of the ship is relatively easy. Opening the cockpit is no hassle at all, but getting the pilot in at the right angle can be a little difficult at times, especially if you only have one hand to do it with. Taking the pilot out is a very similar situation, just in reverse. And yes, you can see into the cockpit, but you can only really see the red slope pieces as it is so dark in there. On the underside of the cockpit are 2 spring-loaded shooters, both with green missiles. From the front, you could argue that it looks like the TIE is starting to fire a shot, but if we turn it around to the back, well, it kinda just looks weird. Besides from the spring-loaded shooters though, we can find a small dimple for where the thrust would come out from, as well as some red lights for detail. Though I will say, the back is quite a lot less round than the other sides. And while I'm over in the vicinity of the cockpit, this is where one of the main flaws of the build comes into play. There is quite a noticeable gap between the cockpit and the start of the wings. From a distance, it's perfectly fine, but close up, it stands out like a sore thumb. Another flaw within this build, and in my opinion, the biggest issue with this set, When you place the tie down, the bottom of the wings slightly bend in. Temporarily, this is fine, but over a long period of time could cause stress on the pieces and cause damage to them. Because of this issue, I intend to put out a video within the near future where I make a custom stand for this set along with a few small add-ons for other sets. Get subscribed so you don't miss out on that. I've said it once, and I'll say it again, LEGO absolutely nailed this build. For now though, let's move on to the Fang fighter. This certainly wasn't a build people were necessarily expecting to be getting alongside the Interceptor, but it was a welcome one. This ship uses significantly less pieces than the TIE and has a much more minimalist design, reminiscent of how LEGO Star Wars started off. There are two turrets on top next to the cockpit, which, like the TIE, can hold a single minifigure. The cockpit has a very similar interior design to the Interceptor. Getting a figure into this cockpit is much easier than the TIE. Just position the legs, and if you're putting the Fleet Commander in, adjust his rangefinder, then put the minifigure in, and close it up. Moving around to the back of the ship quickly, we've got 3 thrusters, all of which are spitting out blue exhaust. And don't worry, LEGO didn't forget about adding play features. As we move around to the underside of the ship, we can find 2 spring-loaded shooters down here, this time in red. This ship has quite a unique design, and LEGO brought it together very well. Though there aren't any crazy techniques, or heaps of unique part combinations, the Fang fighter, in my opinion, was hands down the most enjoyable part of this set to put together. And the final result turned out quite a bit larger than I had expected. In fact, both builds were a surprising amount larger than I had originally anticipated. Honestly, I reckon this set would have to be within my top 10 favorite sets that I've built. And even with that small hiccup within the instructions, this set was still so enjoyable to build. This is one of the few sets in my collection that I would honestly recommend to anyone who enjoys LEGO Star Wars. And for 160 Australian dollars, it may be a little steep for some, but in my opinion, is worth every cent. Like always, I've attached a link in the description down below to LEGO's website where you can pick this setup for yourself. You better hurry though, as it is expected to retire by the end of this year. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider giving it a like. As I mentioned earlier on, I will be posting a video in the near future where I improve a few LEGO Star Wars sets, so get subscribed for that. And with that being said, stay safe and talk soon.